Welcome to Crime Story with Camila, where we dive deep into the most chilling and mysterious true crime cases. If you love real-life crime stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring you the most in-depth investigations and untold stories. On October 8th, 2009, a pickup truck was found abandoned on a remote dirt road in the mountains of Oklahoma. Inside the truck, a wallet, cell phones, a GPS, and over $30,000 in cash left untouched. But one thing was missing: the family who owned it. No signs of struggle, no blood, no explanation. It was as if they had stepped out of the truck and vanished into thin air. This is the disturbing and unresolved story of the Jamison family disappearance. Before the mystery, before the silence, before 3 lives vanished into the wilderness, there was a family, not famous, not wealthy, not hiding from the world, just a mother, a father, and a little girl, the Jamisons. Bobby Jamison was known as a provider, a man who believed a father's duty was to protect, no matter the cost. He ran a small business, worked long hours, and rarely spoke about his fears. But those close to him would later say Bobby carried something heavy, an unease that never quite left him. He trusted few people, and even fewer with his family. Sherilyn Jamison was more complex. She lived with severe chronic pain, the kind that wears a person down slowly, relentlessly. Daily medications blurred the line between relief and exhaustion. But it wasn't just physical pain. Sherilyn believed her home was under attack, not by people, but by something unseen. She spoke of spirits, dark presences, entities that whispered, followed, watched. To those around her, it sounded like paranoia. To Sherilyn, it felt terrifyingly real. At the center of it all was 6-year-old Madison Jamison. Quiet, withdrawn, often clinging to her parents' legs. Teachers described her as shy. Neighbors said she rarely played outside. Her world was small, and it revolved entirely around her mother and father. What outsiders didn't see was how isolated the Jamisons had become. They didn't host friends, they didn't attend gatherings, and they trusted almost no one. Their home, once a place of safety, had turned into a fortress. Locks, cameras, guns, protection or fear. From the outside, the Jamisons looked like a family holding on. But beneath the surface, something was breaking. Something was pushing them further away from the world, and closer to whatever fate was waiting for them in the woods. Long before the Jamison family disappeared, the signs were already there. They didn't arrive all at once. They crept in slowly, quiet, persistent, unignorable. Sherilyn Jamison became convinced that something dark had attached itself to their home. She claimed spirits followed her from room to room, that unseen forces whispered in the night, that the walls themselves carried intent. She described being physically attacked, pushed, grabbed, targeted by something no one else could see. To doctors, it sounded like delusion. To Sherilyn, it was terror. Bobby Jamison reacted differently. He didn't talk about spirits. He talked about threats. He believed people were watching them, that someone wanted to harm his family, that danger was always close, just out of sight. He installed surveillance cameras inside their home, multiple angles, every room. He carried a gun constantly, even inside the house. Safety, he said, was never guaranteed. Then there was the video. Footage from one of Bobby's cameras shows a dark room. At the center, 6-year-old Madison Jamison. She stands completely still, arms stiff at her sides, eyes empty, her small body slowly rocking back and forth. She doesn't speak. She doesn't cry. She doesn't react. There is no sound, only movement. To this day, that video unsettles investigators. Psychologists suggest trauma, stress, a child absorbing fear from her environment. Others see something else, something deeply wrong. Friends later recalled arguments between Bobby and Sherilyn. Not loud, not violent, but intense. They spoke in whispers, about enemies, about escape, about starting over somewhere no one could find them. Sherilyn wrote long, disturbing notes, pages filled with paranoia, religious symbols, warnings of evil forces. She spoke of needing to leave, immediately, before it was too late. To the outside world, these were red flags. But inside the Jamison home, they were justification, a reason to run, a reason to disappear. And by October 2009, the Jamisons believed there was only one way to survive: to leave everything behind, even reality itself. By early October of 2009, whatever fear had taken hold of the Jamison family was no longer contained inside their home. It was pressing in, demanding action. There was no long goodbye, no moving trucks, no farewell dinners, just a decision. Abrupt, final. They were leaving. Bobby Jamison withdrew $32,000 in cash from his bank. Not a check, not a transfer. Cash. Every dollar accounted for, and yet no explanation given. To friends, Bobby said they were buying land, remote land, in the mountains near the Oklahoma-Arkansas border. A place no one would bother them. A place where they could be safe. Sherilyn didn't argue. In fact, she seemed relieved. According to those who spoke with her in those final days, she believed leaving was necessary, urgent, almost commanded. She spoke of being guided, of escaping something evil, of a final chance to protect her daughter. Little Madison was told almost nothing. She packed her small belongings, her toys, her clothes. She trusted her parents completely. She had no reason not to. On the morning of October 8th, 2009, the Jamisons loaded their pickup truck. Cash, cell phones, GPS, food, jackets, everything they would need for a short trip. Or so it seemed. Neighbors saw them leave. No panic, no urgency, just a family driving away. No one knew it would be the last time they were seen alive. There was no return call, no message, no explanation. By nightfall, the Jamison family had vanished. Whatever decision they made that day was already pulling them forward, toward the mountains, toward the forest, toward a place where answers would be swallowed by silence. When the Jamison family didn't come back, at first no one panicked. Adults disappear for a day or two. Families go off-grid. But this time, something felt off. Days later, a local man driving through a remote area near Red Oak, Oklahoma, noticed something strange. A pickup truck, parked at an angle on a dirt road that led nowhere. It wasn't stuck. It wasn't damaged. It was just abandoned. The truck belonged to the Jamisons. And when investigators opened the doors, time seemed to stop. Inside the vehicle were their wallets, their cell phones, their GPS unit, everything they would need to survive. And everything they would need to ask for help was still there. Then they found the money, $32,000. Cash. Sitting in plain sight, untouched. There were no signs of violence, no broken glass, no blood, no struggle. The keys were still in the ignition. The truck hadn't been robbed. It hadn't been abandoned in panic. It looked like the family had simply stepped out and never came back. Even more unsettling, Bobby Jamison's gun was inside the truck, loaded, within reach. If they were afraid, why leave protection behind? If they were threatened, why take nothing with them? And if this was a planned stop, why walk away with no supplies? Search teams combed the surrounding wilderness. Thick woods, steep ravines, endless trees. But there were no footprints, no clothing, no sign of three people wandering into the forest. It was as if the earth had opened up and swallowed them whole. The abandoned truck didn't just raise questions. It shattered logic, because nothing about that scene made sense. And the deeper investigators looked, the more disturbing the possibilities became. The Jamison family hadn't just disappeared. They had left behind a puzzle, one with pieces that refused to fit. When facts fail, theories rush in to fill the silence. And in the case of the Jamison family, every theory is unsettling, because each one suggests a different kind of tragedy. Investigators began with what they knew: Sherilyn's deteriorating mental health, her belief in spirits, her written notes filled with fear and religious obsession. Some experts believe she may have suffered from severe delusions, and Bobby, already paranoid, already armed, may have been pulled into the same distorted reality, a phenomenon known as shared psychosis. Two people feeding the same fear, validating each other's worst thoughts, until escape became the only solution. If that theory is true, the family may have believed the woods were safer than the world they were leaving behind. Others believe the Jamisons were targeted. $32,000 in cash, remote location, no witnesses, a perfect opportunity. Perhaps someone followed them, forced them out of the truck, led them away, And yet, the money was still there. The gun was untouched. Nothing was taken, which leaves a disturbing question. If this was murder, why leave the reward behind? Another theory suggests the Jamisons were running, not from imaginary threats, but real ones. Bobby had reportedly clashed with neighbors. There were rumors of disputes, talk of danger getting too close. Maybe they believed the only way out was to disappear completely. No records, no trace. But running into the wilderness with a child, without supplies, wasn't survival. It was surrender. Some investigators quietly considered a darker possibility, that the family walked into the forest with no intention of returning. No fight, no panic, just resolve. But if that's true, why bring a child? Why leave money behind? Why choose such a slow, uncertain end? Every theory circles the same truth. Whatever happened to the Jamisons was not accidental. It was driven by fear, by belief, or by something no one ever fully understood. And yet, despite all the speculation, there was still no evidence, no bodies, no cause of death, no closure, only a forest, and 3 missing people. Theories filled the void, but answers were still missing. For 4 long years, the forest said nothing. Search teams came and went. Theories rose and collapsed. Hope thinned with time. And then, in November of 2013, the wilderness finally spoke. Hunters were moving through a remote, rugged area near Red Oak, Oklahoma, less than 3 miles from where the Jamison family's truck had been found. A place already searched, a place already dismissed. They noticed something unnatural on the ground. Bones. Human bones. Authorities were called. The area was sealed off. And as the remains were carefully examined, the truth became unavoidable. DNA testing confirmed what many had feared, and others had spent years denying. The remains belonged to Bobby Jamison, Sherilyn Jamison, and 6-year-old Madison. Together, there was no evidence of violence, no gunshot wounds, no fractures, no signs of trauma. Nature had taken its time. Animals had scattered the remains. Weather had erased detail. Time had destroyed answers. Investigators searched for clues. Toxicology was impossible. Soft tissue was gone. There would be no cause of death. No timeline. No final moments reconstructed. The forest had given them back, but not the truth. What made it worse? The remains were found so close. Close enough that help was never far. Close enough that survival once seemed possible. 3 people had died in silence, without witnesses, without explanations, and without justice. Music swells gently mournful. The discovery didn't solve the mystery. It ended the search, but it opened a deeper wound. Because now the question wasn't where are they? It was, what happened out there when no one was watching? The discovery of the Jamison family's remains was supposed to bring answers. Instead, it left behind silence. There was no cause of death, no final timeline, no explanation that could be proven. Just questions, heavy ones, uncomfortable ones. Why would a family walk into such dangerous terrain? Without food, without shelter, without supplies? Why leave behind money that could have saved them? Why leave a loaded gun behind? The very thing Bobby Jamison never let out of his reach? If fear drove them into the woods, what were they so afraid of? Something real? Something imagined? Or something that only existed inside their own minds? And Madison, why was a 6-year-old child taken into that darkness? Was she aware? Was she frightened? Or did she trust her parents completely, right up until the end? Investigators have quietly admitted the truth may never be known. No confession, no witnesses, no final message. The Jamisons left nothing behind but fragments. Some believe this was a tragic mental health crisis that spiraled out of control. Others believe someone else was involved and got away with it. And some believe the family chose their fate. Each explanation feels incomplete. Each one feels wrong. What remains certain is that the Jamison family didn't just disappear. They were lost. Lost to fear. Lost to isolation. Lost to a system that couldn't save them. The forest keeps its secrets well. And sometimes, it never gives them back. All that's left now are questions that will never be answered. And a mystery that refuses to rest. Some mysteries end with answers. This one ends with judgment. 3 people walked into the wilderness and never walked back out. Not chased, not forced, not rescued, just gone. Was this a crime? Or was it something darker? A family consumed by fear, by belief, by a reality only they could see? If no one pulled the trigger, if no hand pushed them forward, then the most terrifying possibility remains. That the danger wasn't in the forest. It was already inside the truck. And Madison, was she a victim of violence or a victim of trust? The law offers no verdict. Science offers no cause. But the silence does. Because sometimes the truth isn't hidden. It's abandoned. Just like the truck. Just like the money. Just like the answers we'll never have. And somewhere in those woods, the question still waits. Did the Jamison family disappear? Or did they choose to be lost? For more interesting video, please like, share, and subscribe.